Hello, mischief makers, troublemakers, rabble rousers, and of course, Little Delphi. It's the No Holds Barred Witchcraft podcast, and today we is talking about stuff like the film I just watched. I was all prepared, Chris, because I had my COVID jab, right, on Friday, and I thought I might end up getting sick. I took some magical precautions, right, but then I also made a bunch of meals to put in the fridge, like did meal prep, and I got a bunch of a bunch of meals in the fridge and a bunch of films on Netflix and that I bookmarked ready to watch in case I was ill and the like. As it turns out, I feel better now after I've had it than I did before I even was planning on having it, so I don't know how that works, but who knows. But anyway, so what books you reading, Chris?
I bought a load of new books the other day, including several translations of the Epic of Gilgamesh.
Oh, was that for the Mesopotamian problem?
Yes.
I see.
But we can talk about that at another time.
We can't talk about that on the official podcast, can we?
No, definitely not.
We might have to do one of them Patreon only podcasts all about that at some point.
Yeah, we'll talk about the Mesopotamian problem.
Is it much like the Norse problem?
I imagine it'll be a lot worse than that.
I was thinking that.
So I got a couple of those, and I got some other books, because obviously I got to do some extra training for the cult. So, you know. I mean, the place.
Oh, right, okay.
I mean, the place I work.
That is a cult.
Yeah.
You work at a cult. I mean, they all know you work at a cult officially.
So, anyway.
I mean, it's got charitable status on it, so it must be a cult.
Gotta be a cult, definitely.
Right. So I watched this film. I've been wanting to watch it for a while. You know that I want to watch it because I asked you about where can I watch it, and you said it's not out yet, Liam.
Yeah.
It's come out. I found it on Amazon. It's called Bad Witch. Now, unfortunately, because Amazon are I was prepared to buy the film. But they would not let me buy it because I wasn't in the right country because I'm not from the United States, right? So I got a VPN to make it look like I am in New York, and that's fine. That let me process, that let me buy it. I clicked the buy button, I put my credit card details in and the like, and then they said, sorry, that is not an American bank. We're only allowed to accept payments from American banks. I was like, what's going on here? Well, as it turns out, said film I wanted to watch is not out in Europe and the like yet. So I was very disappointed. So instead of buying it and paying my $3.99 to watch it, rent it, I just decided to download it illegally instead. So I've done that so I could watch it. So you people that are listening, whoever makes these decisions, you could have had a bit of money. You could have had some coin there, but because you were being unreasonable, I've gone behind your backs. And not only have I watched it, I also have a copy of it now, so I can watch it again whenever I want. I mean, if I was going to rent it for the $3.99, I would have watched it probably maybe twice, and then I might have had to buy it in the future, but now I've got a copy of it, so screw you. Why didn't they have to be so unreasonable, Chris?
Oh, I don't know. I just don't see why in this day and age.
Do you know what else?
You can't just release it everywhere.
I'm going to send a copy to Chris, so we haven't got to buy it either. So that's two amounts of monies that you could have had, but now you're not going to have. So I hope you're happy with yourselves. That took me a good 20 minutes to find a workaround for that. Wasted my time.
So how was it, Liam?
I really liked it. It's very low budget.
Was it worth all the effort?
It is very low budget. I did write a little bit in, I think it was the Witchcraft Live Facebook group about it and put the trailer on. But I thought it was really funny. I mean, it's about this guy, round about our sort of age, and he grew up learning the black magic and the like. And he's a bit of a troublemaker. And he don't put his
Okay.
magic to good use. Instead, he tends to opt for making a trouble and that. He's just a normal guy going about everyday life. But when a situation comes up where normal people would have to just put up with the situation, he just uses a magic. Which has got me thinking. It reminds me a lot of my childhood, Chris. It reminds me of how I used to be like. Now I'm more of an upstanding member of the community.
Are you?
Well, I seem to think I am, so therefore I am.
Well, okay. Is that how it works,
I
is it?
swear
then?
that's how it works, isn't it? You are what you eat.
You've conditioned yourself. You've conditioned yourself. You've conditioned yourself to believe that you are an upstanding citizen.
Well, I am a mentor. I do things for the local community. I do charitable works.
I suppose.
You know?
Okay.
I don't pay enough
I'll believe
taxes
you
like
for a
all the
little
other
bit.
upstanding members of the community. So anyway,
Do you want to confess? So you've already confessed theft. Now tax avoidance. What else do you want to confess today, Liam?
hey, stop with all this confession. I ain't a Catholic. I can't be doing too much of it. Bless me,
Anyway,
Chris,
get to the
for
point.
I have sinned.
You'll need a bit more than a few Hail Marys, you, to clear your conscience.
That's alright. I'm perfectly happy to accept corporal punishment. And if I might
I'll have
put
a
in a
chat with
request,
Aries.
can I use the nine-tailed whip this time? The other one didn't quite cut it. I think it came from Anne Summers.
Okay. Well, that's covered debauchery. What else do you
Never
want to
buy a whip
confess?
from Anne Summers. Never buy a whip from Anne Summers. Some of the ones at Love Honey are pretty crap. There is a lovely place in Bristol behind the Colston Hall that sell whips that are made of stainless steel. If anyone wants to visit Bristol, I'll take you there. It's brilliant. I forget what the name of the shop is, but they got all like the proper stuff, you know? It's not like this flim-flammy crap made of plastic. It's all made from metal. Anyway, stop sidetracking because I was supposed to be telling them all about this film I've been and watched called Bad Witch. It came out in the year 2021, which is currently the year we're in. It's a lot better than last year. Last year was 2020, and well, just say the words 2020 and watch the person's face. It's bad memories for most people, I think. But anyway, Bad Witch follows, I suppose, not really the life, because you get a little bit of a glimpse about the guy's childhood. But when he's a little bit older, he decides, I'm a little bit of a bad witch. I do a lot of bad things. I'm going to try and give it up. He ends up not doing that. He ends up training the local nerd who's getting picked on by a bunch of bullies to systematically target each one, both sometimes on purpose and then other times accidentally through fucking spells up, and using the black magics and the like on them. And there's a lot of things that kind of rang true for me in the film. Partly because I kind of, the sort of things that were done, there was facial disfigurements, boils and the like, memory loss spells that went wrong, all that sort of thing. I think a lot of witches end up doing those sorts of things when they want to mess about. There's also a certain amount of witch prosecutions, and it does have you asking yourself, really, who's the goodies and who's the baddies here? Because the bad witch did some nasty stuff, and then the bad witch ended up getting beaten up, and they carved with a knife witch into their stomach and that. And I felt a bit sad for the main character having done that, but then he cured it with a magic, and the person that obviously he inflicted with some nasty diseases and the like, didn't really get cured. So the bad witch is kind of a bad witch. But it does remind me also from my younger days, Chris, because much like when we talked on the Dark Frontier podcast episode, which we still got to do a second one, it does get me thinking about great power comes with great responsibility. Although I've often thought it's an optional extra, you know? I mean, you get the great power, but much like the little shaver attachments you get for your electric shaver, you choose whether you're going to use them or not. Most of the time, the responsibility part just stays in the box, and then eventually it gets thrown out.
Okay.
You know?
Or lost behind the cupboard.
Yeah, possibly. And then you find a bunch of them. You find ones from previous incarnations of your shaver as well.
That don't fit.
And none of them fit. Yeah, none of these consciences fit. Can't even give them away, because who wants a conscience? Let's be fair. So anyway, I've kind of forgotten what I was saying now. But yeah, it got me thinking about, obviously, it all culminates in the end with a magical spell kind of going wrong. One going right, one going wrong, and then a bunch of people coming together to try and kill the witch. And you kind of do think, okay, so how far does it go? When it comes to equal punishment, you know, justice and all that, how far does it go for against magical practitioners? Because I've done some terrible things. I think everyone knows I've done some pretty bad things. And I've decided not to fix them. But morality is such that some people would say, Liam, you are a bad witch. You should be burnt at the stake for the things that you've done. Other people would say they've had it come into them. Other people would say, I'm sorry, who are you? And then still more other people would say, you know, that I don't really know. This is a way above my pay grade. So when it comes to the ethics of what it is we do and that, I was kind of watching this kind of really is a bit of a crappy film, you know, it's not got a huge amount of storyline, but I was filling in the blanks in my mind, you know, kind of like you do with films like that.
Okay.
And
it was making you consider some bigger options.
It made me consider things. So what I've got out of it, having considered those things, because as usual, like what I tend to do is critique other people's magic that they use, is
better not have been mine.
No, you're not in the film, Chris.
Oh, okay.
After watching the film, and after getting a couple of chuckles out of the film at different scenes that I won't spoil for you, it got me thinking about ethics and morality and the like. So what I thought I should probably do is to do a black magic course, Chris, to put on for paid download and also to go on the Patreon. Just because I think that the worst things of that film that came out was when the things go wrong. If you purposely go out to do something bad, you reap the repercussions of those things going, you know, that bad thing that you're doing. And there's always a knock-on effect. It's not so much an angel on the clouds that's going to come and screw you over if you did a naughty thing.
We're talking about...
Although that can happen.
We're talking about cause and effect.
Yeah, cause and effect.
We're talking about cause and effect.
I mean, don't get me wrong. There are angels on clouds that will come and screw you over if you do something they don't like. But they can be dealt with, okay? So don't worry, you can deal with those such entities and the like. But what I am more concerned about is the trying to do something and then ballsing it up, basically. Because that's from the film where most of the trauma, I think, came from, you know. And I've seen this happen quite a lot with people that say, I really want to screw this person over because they're an asshole, but I'm too scared to use the black magic, so I'm going to go for a half-assed goody-goody approach, and it never works out quite well. And I think part of that is due to people not understanding magic, because if they really did understand magic, they'd be able to make... I think what our really good witches tend to do is the kind of poetic justice.
Yeah.
Whereas I thought if I did something dedicated to basic black magic, all the bad stuff that no one talks about or tells you, and then go through the situations. Like I got this one. There was this one scene where he takes basically okay, he's screwing this girl, right, and she's got a boyfriend, and she invites him to her birthday party, and her boyfriend's there, and her boyfriend knows that basically something's up, and starts a fight with him. So the bad witch pulls off, I think it's a button from the guy's shirt, and takes it away and starts burning it and the like, and then a load of bad stuff happens. I thought, okay, that's interesting. That's a black magic. But a lot of people wouldn't think about doing that with a button. Also, people wouldn't think about the process of how it works and stuff. So I think what we need is a nice little course, because I do the introduction to how spellcasting works and that, but I think a nice juicy one would be all of the bad stuff, all the naughty stuff, because there's a lots of stuff that you can find that we put out there and that others put out there that's healing based and all that. But I think that when it comes to learning magical practice, is a lot easier to learn the bad things, because you don't worry about the target getting screwed up, do you? Because they're baddie. Yeah?
Yeah, it's quite. Yeah, I get what you mean. It's easier to throw harm at somebody if you dislike them, or have, you're less worried about how far it goes. Whereas when you're trying to heal somebody, the whole process is concerned about making them better and not doing any harm. Whereas kind of like the odd side effect to some black magic is not going to actually bother you all that much, because you wanted to fuck them up anyway.
Yeah. I have noticed as well, I don't know if you've noticed this, in the Witchcraft Live group, particularly, that we run on Facebook, there's a lot of people posting pictures of others and asking about black magic and all that kind of thing recently. So I figure when a lot of people ask about the same thing, that's when it's time to start producing content about it. And
Yeah,
I could do a
definitely.
bunch of
Definitely.
individual Witchcraft Live videos, but at the same time, we're supposed to be putting some slightly cooler stuff on the Patreon, aren't we? And then I know we wanted
Yeah.
these video courses as well, because everyone online's selling video courses, right, listeners? So we thought, well, we've got to do that. We got to sell the video courses on stuff. So I know I got the evocation one coming out. I figured the next logical one would be a black magic one, and then I'm sure there'll
Yeah.
be other ones that people will suggest, but it does. I have noticed that there's a lot of interest, a lot of people that are trying to do it, and a lot of the people that are asking simple questions, Chris, seem to be people that have already got experience in magic, and that surprises me,
Yeah.
because they don't seem to be able to equate, okay, well, I'm going to do something bad, and normally I'm used to doing this love magics and this healing magic stuff, and I kind of think, well, the principles are kind of the same, or kind of reversed
Yeah.
almost, I suppose, if you, depending on which way
Yeah.
you
You
look
just
at
want
it.
a strong you want a strong enough connection in order to do
Yeah.
it. I think that's what some people struggle with, isn't it?
Mm.
Is obviously it's easy to make a connection or a link to someone you want to affect in a positive way, because the thoughts of them are quite easy to come and conjure in your mind's eye in order to actually start the process. Whereas I think when you really dislike someone, you've already tried to blur them out of your mind, but by that point. So I suppose actually turning that into a focus point is difficult. So, but most people get around that with actual physical objects, like you say, a button from his shirt, and that's possibly the best way to get over that. Then you don't have to fixate on the person's face, or in order to get that connection done properly. I'd still probably go to dream walking and just, pinch a bit of his soul out, but that's just me.
Yeah, but you're a super witch, Chris. We got to start off with the beginners. We got to start with tangible physical objects that have a link to the person, the target. We'll just call them the target. And then after you've mastered that, you can go on to slightly more complicated things. So one of the things I want to stick in the magic course is something that comes up that quite a lot actually with mundane clients. So people that just come for one specific job, and I normally teach them a little bit of magic so they can go off and do their little
Oh,
project.
the bitch be gone spell. That's a good
Bitch
favourite
Be
one.
Gone spell's a good one. So what I thought is, given the button thing in the film he melts, I thought, well, it got me thinking about what a lot of magic I've helped people do, and if I'm honest, it's normally women, is wedding ring magic, okay? Because you've already
Yeah,
got a link between one ring and the other. So if you think about literally under the eyes of a god, much of the time, even if it is just Yahweh, but under the eyes of God, you've sworn that these rings are a symbol of your link essentially to each other. And
yeah,
much like walkie talkies, the link can go either way. So a lot of people will think, oh, if I steal his wedding ring, I can do some magic on it. No, 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 no. That's not how it works. You do the magic on your ring that you want to emanate out of his ring, right?
yeah,
So if you think about how you might do that, I've definitely done ones where the ex-husband or whoever has given the ring back or has got rid of the ring or whatever, and you end up using their actual ring because it's still linked to them. But then I've also done ones where I've taken a wife's ring where she's taken the wedding ring off, and then we've burned it on a flame, on a candle or a bath. You just heated it up and built that connection, and building the connection through flame and heat and that kind of thing, for having that emanate into the person's body, because of course at the same time he's wearing the ring, or he's got the ring,
yeah,
it still belongs to him, it's still connected to him. So having the ring as almost like one of those Stargate um eyes
yeah.
portal things, you can
And
drop
also,
things through the ring that you might want to go out through the other side. That sort of stuff is
yeah,
brilliant.
and
Ring magic's one of those things that's underestimated. Everyone goes for all this knot magic, right? And
hey,
knot
don't be
magic
rude.
has got a huge amount of history. But I think wedding rings have been around for a while, and rings in general have been around for a while. But you don't really, I think, see a lot of information put out about magic that revolves around ring. If you do, it's all about, those padlock type spells, or bind us together, or all that sort of shit. So I'm thinking there's
Yeah,
some nice baneful magic using rings. Nice baneful
that's why I
magic.
don't wear
Yeah, you
any.
don't wear any. There's probably a good reason for that. Nice baneful magic using people's biologicals that you collect. A little bit of information about how you can steal people's biologicals as well. That's got to go in the course. Using people's names and pictures. That's got to go in there. And then we should probably talk about some of this slightly more advanced magic, which you're talking about, pulling a chunk out of someone's soul and the like and sticking it in something, or literally just going a dream walking in and tinkering about in that. So, do you want to whet people's appetite when it comes to that sort of thing? Give them a little thing to mull over when it comes to that?
Um, yeah, I suppose I can. Like I say, I quite like ring magic, mainly because people forget how much, like crystals, metals hold a certain frequency, and when you tinker with that, they're able to really hold some serious memory juice, shall we say? And it's why psychometry works so well with them, is because they're really good at holding that energy. Um, but yeah, in terms of my normal methods, yeah, they'd be kind of, I love a good dream walk, um, which is, kind of works in the same way that hedge riding works, which is kind of riding the veil between kind of the astral and the dream world. So it kind of has that kind of, it's only on the skirt, the edge of the dream world, and only is starting to touch into the astral. It's a nice safe place. I think is the best way about it, is because you're not starting to show up on people's radars on the astral world at that point. If you're good at it, um, you know, the only witches' cloaks that I wear, you won't find made of velour. Um, So you kind of like, you've got this kind of way of sneaking across there, popping into someone else's subconscious, and just tinkering around, or pulling pieces out. Just kind of like when you pull hair out of somebody's head in order to use it. You've got that little bit of DNA on the end. You don't need to take much. We're not talking Horcrux kind of ripping a soul into several pieces. I'm literally saying, dip your finger in to taste a bit. That's all I'm saying. When you check that curry or that soup is just right before you serve it up. That kind of, just a little taste. That's essentially what I'm talking about, of bringing it back, because then that flavour is on your palate, ready for you to then use directly into the spellcasting work. But yeah, it's the best way to describe it, I think, is a bit more like anyone that is familiar with hedge riding. It's a liminal space between worlds, and between conscious states, and different kinds of unconscious state. Did that make sense?
Yeah. It's interesting you mention Horcruxes, because that comes from Harry Potter, doesn't it? So the idea of the Horcruxes in Harry Potter is that what you do is you do a spell that involves taking someone's life, which then shatters your soul into fragments, and you can take a fragment and stick it in an object, so that if you get physically killed, your soul still remains in the physical world. Now, in Harry Potter, do you think that is black magic just because in order to get it to work you have to kill someone and that's bad? Or do you think it's black magic because, you're going against the natural order and you shouldn't be staying alive after your body's dead? So
I think it's both. There's the morality part of it where it's wrong to take someone's life, and I think that's the bit that J.K. Rowling plays on. So if you listen to the things that Slughorn says, it's a case of, he says, "Oh, could you suggest, break it into several pieces?" And you kind of like, and he goes, he refers to it as doing something unspeakable. Killing someone is unspeakable, which kind of suggests that there is that is the horrific point that forces, that morality forces your soul to be torn into pieces. So it's an actual action that's being done. And whereas when you come to describing how, I probably shouldn't do that, the extra Horcrux that wasn't planned, in it, that allows, that is an accidental magic. So that then starts to feel like, okay, it's saying this is black magic. And it rebounded, and therefore, the cause of that was an extra, because, that still had the intention of killing, but it wasn't the intention of actually creating a Horcrux. So I don't know. I think she focuses far too much on the morality of it, but I'm sure she's like a pastor's daughter or something like that, a bit like Lady Poison.
Right, we're pretty much almost out of time for the regular edition of the podcast. So when it goes into the Patreon only bit, I think we should take apart this Horcrux making business, compare and contrast how it works, and then talk about things that you could do in the real world with real life magic that would be the same thing. Maybe make your own real life Horcruxes. We'll explain the secrets of that on the Patreon. I also want to talk to you, Chris. I don't know whether it's just a chat or a warning or what, about the monster I may have created. So we is talking a little bit about black magic, and I'm wondering whether I've created a monster accidentally, because I've been told by other people.
Are we talking about an egregore?
That you think?
Or are we talking about a person?
We're talking about little Delphi. Is potentially the monster I have created, but there we go.
Okay.
But yeah, so anyone who wants to join the Thoth Witchcraft Patreon, not only do you get extended editions of this podcast, but you also get the chance to talk to us on a regular basis, so that we can help you with your magical journey and your magical work. All that for less than a fiver a month. Oh my gosh, Chris, that's value for
Yeah.
money, is it not?
This is why we need to do more of these
Yeah.
courses, because we give too much away for free.
Alright, so we'll say goodbye to the regular listeners. Goodbye, regular listeners.